Hi everyone. I keep thinking it was going to be the last book that I'm going to show you. This is another show and tell. I hesitate to call it a recommendation, although I personally would, because obviously I've bought it. And if I don't find value in it, I wouldn't have bought it. And because I've bought it and I found it useful for myself, of course, I would be more inclined to recommend it than um, you know, than I would not recommend it. But as I keep saying, it all depends really on what you're looking for and what you're coming from and your intentions, etc. So in this case, this is by Robert M. Place. Even up to recently, when I was talking about Robert Place's chat about Neo-Platonism and his sevenfold mystery with Angelo Nasios, someone commented that I wanted to understand a bit more on Robert Place's take on Neo-Platonism because I'm using his deck, The Sevenfold Mystery, as a starting point to my inquiry before I go head first into the Neo-Platonic philosophy, because I think it's just a bit too much to chew on at the moment. At some point I would like to, but maybe not right now. So I see Robert Place's decks and his take on Neo-Platonism and tarot as a good starting point, because I will be propelled and motivated by his cards as I am working through them as part of my year ahead spread for this year. This one here is called The Fool's Journey, The History, Art, and Symbolism of the Tarot. Someone recommended this to me in one of the comments as we were chatting about the Sevenfold Mystery, and I told her I already have it. I'm not quite sure. She did mention that it might be expensive. I'm not sure if that is because Amazon's low on stock or what the case is, but there's another book of his, I can't remember the title, but it has an illustration of his alchemical deck, and I wanted to get that, but I think I was waiting because it was quite old. Again, I've mentioned in my other video that a lot of these books I found frustratingly to be quite aged, and so I think the last revision was like 15 years ago or something, and I think that particular book by Robert M. Place is about as new in that area or in that particular theme of discussion as there is out there. So that's like early 2000. I think it was revised and it was first penned in the 90s. I can't remember. So that's the other book. This particular book, I'm not quite sure whether you wanna. If you look at the title, you might be given the impression that it is about history of tarot and art of tarot and symbolism. And so one particular reviewer on Amazon was very disappointed because he felt like this is more like a handbook to an exhibition that Robert Place had at the time. And so he felt like this is like, when you go to a theater performance and you have the ballet or the whatever performance, the play, whatever you're going, they would have that sort of souvenir book that you can buy for about $5 to $10 depending on where you are in the world. About here it was $5, now it's $10, and depending if it's a nice edition it can be $15. You can buy it before you enter the theater, or you don't buy it and just rely on the little white pamphlet or booklet or whatever information you may obtain before you purchase the ticket to the performance. And so one person feel like this is like one of those. This is like a book, a companion book to an exhibition, rather than a book about history, art, and symbolism of the tarot. And so I can understand their disappointment, because just looking at that is indeed what you feel like it is. And then, of course, you go in, you have all this stuff, which is great, all the samples of historical decks, which is great. And so, the usual stuff, and then his own deck, and then there's the Deviant Moon there, interestingly. But I want to show you, you see here, this is how the book is formatted. Huge on this side is his cards from the Sevenfold Mystery. And because I adore the Sevenfold Mystery, it is my first Robert Place deck, and I'm absolutely fascinated by the Neo-Platonic angle of it. I found it very informative. This is the exact copy of the cards in the deck of the full Major Arcana, but with annotations. I think one of us, I think it was Bobby, the Ragged Poet, has a deck that is a copy of this annotated version of the cards, and I think it's collector's piece, and I think it's really, really expensive. But I wish I have the deck here with me to show you. Let me see. Yeah, if you hold on a second. Okay, so that's the deck. Just want to compare how it looks like. See, that's Cupid. I've been working with the Lover's card. Okay, here. Stultitia, is that how you pronounce that? Stultitia. That's the Fool. And so that's, I think that's the exhibition that particular reviewer were talking about. And look at that. It is a good flip-through book. It's not heavy going, so it's very good. It's a flip-through type of book. It isn't something that will sit on your shelf and it's not the kind of book that you'll reach only when you need to refer to something. It's this is all Sforza, Paracelsus, Antoine Coeur de Gébelin, Eliphas Lévy, and Pamela Coleman Smith. So there's all that, but not in depth. It's a good flip-through, easy-going book with lots and lots of pictures, and especially if you have the Tarot of Sevenfold Mystery, I personally found it to be quite useful. So that's the deck, the card. If you can see, it's just Stultitia. I think, let me know if I have not pronounced that correctly, and let me know how you pronounce that properly. And then here, of course, you have, look, instinct. In Christian symbolism, that's a dog. The ass's ears, as a sign of the Fool, stem from the ass's connection to the bodily concerns and the soul of appetite. Foolishness. And then it has the Fool is blindfolded because as a beginner she is in a state of ignorance. She is also a vice. The Fool peeks from under her veil as she grows in wisdom. The Fool has no number because she is the excuse, a wild card, not a trump. The Fool's precipice, I can never pronounce that word, precipice. The Fool's precipice is only a small step. So that's Foolishness, the Annotated Tarot of the Sevenfold Mystery, Robert M. Place, 2009. I would love to have a copy of that, but I am not willing to pay the price for it. And so you have, and then various Fools, and then you have the Magician, and similarly it's annotated in a way that the card in the usual deck isn't. That's the card in the deck, and you see the coins, 3 times 7, 21, Cup, Secret Fire, the sum of opposite sides of a die is always 7, Magic Circle, Dagger, Crystal Ball, Bataleur, Hermes, Wand, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's that sign, Fire, Air, Earth. So it's all written there. And then, of course, the various cards. I think that's from his alchemical deck, and then that's the Deviant Moon. I think because it's such a unique deck, the Deviant Moon, has to be used because it's such a unique tangent. So this one here, I believe, is that one there. I think, okay, I was wrong. Let me correct myself. I think that other book that he has is depicted in the front cover, depicts this particular figure, if I'm not mistaken. Unless this particular one of the Sybil here, I think is the High Priestess, or the Papess, unless his alchemical priestess is similar, because a lot of the scenes in his Sevenfold Mystery is very, very similar to his alchemical. So I'm not sure, but the cover of the other book that is on my wish list, that one is a proper, quote-unquote, proper book. It doesn't feel like an accompanying book to an exhibition. I think it has that design in front of it, if I'm not mistaken. So there's sorry about that. Yeah, that one there, the Alchemical High Priestess look like that. So there's another book which cover looks like that, and I keep confusing the two. Anyway, so as you can see here, so it's really big. It's just, to me, I treat this as a Sevenfold Mystery handbook plus. It is not substantial enough to be considered a general a book on the history, art, and symbolism of tarot. Not so much. If that's what you're expecting, I think there are other books that's more substantial. It is in between that kind of book and a handbook for the Sevenfold Mystery. But to me, I use this as an extensive handbook for my Sevenfold Mystery. I use this as my Sevenfold Mystery handbook plus is what this is. So of course I highly recommend this because I love the Sevenfold Mystery. If you have the Alchemical Tarot, he discusses it within the context of the other cards here, but perhaps, as you can see for yourself, not as focused. See, there is the alchemical image there again as well, but here he does talk about more than just this. He does talk about the world in general, but as you can see from the laying out of the book, this becomes the Sevenfold Mystery, because it's the more Neo-Platonic one, becomes an anchor of the discussion when talking about that particular card, in this case the world in general, and then that's when all these other ones came into the picture. So yeah, so that is The Fool's Journey, The History, Art, and Symbolism of the Tarot by Robert M. Place. It is 2010 by Talarius Publication in New York, and it is very much like a handbook plus or like a history, art, and symbolism book tarot, but light version of what could have been a, for lack of a better term, proper full-scale history, art, and symbolism book on tarot. But I love it. I love it because I love the Sevenfold Mystery, and it is more than just a handbook. So because I come from that angle, my expectation is exceeded. If you come in from, I want a huge textbook about history, art, and symbolism of the tarot, then you might be disappointed. So there it is. I like it. Bye.